Hello, my name is Lynn Dreese Breslin. My studio is in Coxsackie. I currently teach at Parsons, the new school in New York, and I'd like to share my work with you today. Even though I talk about art all the time to my students, I find it difficult to talk about my own art. So I may be referring to some notes occasionally. This work is about lost and found. The past is ever present in our lives. We often respond to our everyday environment through our past experiences, knowledge, and memories. It is pulsating and vibrating through every moment of the day. The value of the past is to have the courage to create new ideas in the present. We don't want to get stuck in the past, but instead learn from it, and in fact renew it. Drawing for me is a dialogue with the past and the present. I look at objects and photographs that evoke memories from a lost time, often childhood memories. And in the process of drawing, I translate them into a visual narrative, a present-day visual narrative. And the drawing of this house is based on old photographs that I took of a childhood home. It is an iconic house that represents a certain time period in America. I scan the photographs into my computer and then manipulate them. I often crop them in various ways, take different points of view of the house, and I often add things. For instance, I added these clouds. I sometimes extend the lawn. I change the value within the photograph. And then I use this photograph, I scale this photograph up to the actual size of the drawing and work from that photograph. Often the quality is not that good, so I have to make up things. And I think when I'm working and drawing, I make up things that really come to me from the past. This technique is a cross-hatching technique, which is derived from a printmaking method of etching. In graduate school, I had access to a print shop, and I loved to make etchings using a needle scratching into the ground on a metal plate. And when I left school and no longer had access to that, I started using this technique in my drawing. So this drawing is really made up of cross-hatched marks that are made up from graphite pencils. I use a range of hard and soft leads. And it gives me a way of building up form, slowly building up form, and also creating light, a sense of light. I love the old black and white movies from the 40s and the 50s. The light in them has often inspired me. In addition, I love the etchings of Morandi and the drawings of Seurat. And using this technique helps me to achieve the light that I like so much in those artists and in those movies. This house also has significant meaning for me. It's a stand-in for a portrait. It's about a family that is not there. And in a way, it's a portrait of them. This shrubs here at the side of the house were shrubs that my father meticulously trimmed every fall and every spring. And often when I look at this, this drawing becomes about my father. And also, I think I got my attention to detail and my need for perfection from him. In this dress, again, I'm fascinated by the light and the flow of the form. This is actually a prom dress that was given to me by a friend. It was her prom dress years ago. I had stored it away for years, and then one day discovered it and pulled it out of its storage place And I washed and ironed it and put it on a mannequin I had found in a thrift shop. The quality of the lace and the light in the lace really struck me, really appealed to me. Once I had put it on the mannequin, it took on a different form, of course, and this interesting interplay of light and shadow happened. The lace stood away from the underlying lining of the dress, and I became very drawn in by that. The process I used was, once the dress was on the mannequin, I was no longer working from the photograph, but I kind of felt lost without the photograph because there was so much detail in the dress. So I ended up photographing the dress in different lightings. I took different points of view. I photographed it in natural light, I photographed it in artificial light, and each time I changed the light, the form and the persona of the dress, so to speak, changed. And when I finally arrived at the photograph I wanted to work with, I blew it up in my computer and printed it out in sections because that was the only size my printer would take. So as I began to draw on it, I had an overall drawing and sketch of where the dress would be, but I ended up working in these sections, these printed sections, which gave me a different understanding of the dress because suddenly I was working on small areas and not really seeing the dress as a whole, but instead the sections, the printed sections, allowed me to really see this very abstract movement of form, an interplay of light and dark, which was rather mesmerizing as I worked on it. In addition, for me, because this was the prom dress of a friend, it became almost like a portrait of her, in the same way that the house is a portrait of my family. And often I find that when I work with objects, when I draw objects, I create kind of a persona. I'm not often aware of it when I'm actually drawing it, but it seems to just come out naturally. So I think of this as not only a portrait of my friend, but also of myself. And I forgot to mention that I decided to eliminate the mannequin because I didn't like the structure of it. I didn't like the pole, and I didn't like the upper part of the mannequin. So again, it gives it this form of someone who's not really there. Thank the Albany Institute and all the people who made this show possible. I particularly want to thank Susan Cross, who curated such a thoughtful show. And I hope you all come to see it and view the work with your memories and associations of the past. Thank you.